Let's fight. Welcome in the ring, and a very good evening to each and every one of you. Whether you're joining us on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, let's fight. Welcome in the ring, folks. A very special program on the lineup for you tonight. As a matter of fact, all our programs are special. So we have another special program for you this evening. I have with me tonight the man and company at the center of the Guy Oil fuel scandal, and we'll be talking about several of the issues that has arisen out of that scandal there at Guy Oil. But first, we must pay the price of admission. Share the live stream, whether you're joining us on Twitter, retweet, you're joining us on Facebook, share the live stream, you're joining us on YouTube. We invite your comments on all platforms. Subscribe if you're joining us on YouTube. We are going to share as well, and then we're going to start the program. We have our guest who's already here with us and ready to speak his mind about what he knows concerning this fuel shipment and the scandal that has enveloped Guy Oil in recent days. Share the live stream, folks, and let us all pay the price of admissions, and let's get the program on the road. As you know, we're watching for that magic number, and then we're going to start. I am paying the price of admission as well. I'm sharing the live stream. I see so many of you already joined us on social media. I'm going to share it a couple places, and I'm going to be back with you guys. Good to see so many of you already ringside and sharing the live stream. You guys know what you got to do. You don't waste time at all. You know what you got to do, and you just get about doing it. I really like that. I really like that. Good to see so many of you ringside already, folks. We're watching to see where we reach that magic number. I have my guests in the green room backstage waiting. Again, we're talking about Guy Oil and the recent scandal that has enveloped Guy Oil. The man and the company at the heart of that. We're going to be talking about where we are currently on that issue and some other issues that has arisen out of that. I am happy that so many of you have already joined us. So many of you are already joined. We're going to wait until we get to that magic number, and then we're going to start. Share the live stream, folks. Hope you guys have had a good day at work, at home, whatever you did today. Hope that at the end of the month or at the end of the week, when you get that wage and salary, when you get that stipend, that you would have received it with good justification. That whatever we find to do, that we do it well, that we do it to the best of our abilities. Folks, thank you for spending this hour with us. As you know, it means a lot to us. We are creeping up on our magic number. We know that lots of you are already sharing the live stream based on what we're seeing on Facebook. And we are so privileged to have you one more time with us. Last night we had a great program. We had a great program early on in the day yesterday and the day before that. And it's all due to you. You guys make this program what it is. So as you come on, we invite you guys to share the live stream. We invite your comments wherever you're picking us from, whether you're at home here in Guyana or you're in the diaspora internationally. Welcome in the ring, folks. Quite a fight this evening. Quite a fight. We're watching those numbers. Welcome. If you're now joining us again, we're talking with Mr. Jayson, and he is the guy at the center. He and his company at the center of what has been happening over there at Guy Oil, that state entity, and we want to get it to the bottom of it. We've been hearing and reading lots of it in the media, but we want to hear from himself. The way we like to do things on this program is to hear directly from the personalities, directly from the man industry, those persons who are making the news and those persons who are at the other end of the government policies that are being rolled out. You guys, again, make this program what it is. Mr. Aaron is standing by, and we want to begin as soon as we get to that magic number. We're watching, folks, at our end, watching the numbers climb and encouraging all of us. Some of you come and you rant and rave on the page. Some of you encourage us on the various platforms that we are broadcasting night after night. But the least we can do is pay the cost of admissions and share the live stream. And we are so grateful for that. And we're happy that you guys see value in this program, or you come because you're fast. But definitely we see value in you. And we always say we want to bring you credible information. Here is where we promote the truth and we defend the facts. And we hope that we are firing on all 6 cylinders. Let me just make sure at the back end we are looking great, folks. Let me just ensure on the back end we are almost where we need to be, and I'm delighted by that. Let me make sure that we're looking nice on the back end. All right. All right. All right. We're coming to come. The numbers are looking nice. We're heading to where we need to be. We are coming to come. Again, welcome in the ring, folks. For those of you who are now tuning in, who are now joining us ringside, we're talking this evening with Mr. Jayson Aaron of Aaron's Royalty, Inc. It is the man and company at the center of the GUYOIL fuel scandal, which burst onto the scenes in recent days. There's swirling controversy over so many figures, in this scandal, and we want to get to the bottom of all that we've been hearing. And so we invite you guys to join the live stream, to share, to retweet, to subscribe to our channel on YouTube, and we are about ready to go. Folks, I want to invite my guests on this evening, and we are joined by Mr. Jayson Aaron himself, and he is the president of Aaron's Royalty, Inc. It is the company that would have been approached by GUYOIL, for all intents and purposes, to be part of this shipping of fuel that was needed at GUYOIL. Mr. Aaron, a very good evening, sir, and welcome in the ring.
Thanks for the invite.
Excellent. Mr. Aaron, we have seen and have heard about this matter in recent days. Within the last 3 or 4 days, it has consumed national attention, the scandal at the state enterprise GUYOIL. And somewhere between the 2nd of April of this month and the 10th of April, there was some understanding that led you to believe that you had a legitimate contract with GUYOIL. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, on the 2nd of April, which was Good Friday, I attended the masjid as normal, as customary. As long as I'm in Guyana, um, I attend the masjid every Friday for Jumu'ah, and then I go back to my residence. However, on that day, I went to the masjid. On my way back home, I received a call from a guy that I've known a period of time. He did some consultancy with myself and um, a friend of mine who owns a refinery in Russia. So he called me and he said, "This is a matter of emergency." So I said, "What could be so urgent that you would want to come out of your house on Good Friday to come meet with me?" So he invited me to a location in Camp Street. I really can't remember the name of the place right now. Now trying to refamiliarize myself with Guyana, so to speak. So I declined that because I was already on the East Bank already. So, I was not prepared to turn back. Because not because somebody says something is important, then it means that it's important. So I said, "Man, listen, if you really need to see me, you can come to my home and we can have a conversation there." So he accepted. I sent the direction to him, and he said he's going to be there in about 30 minutes. So I proceeded home. When I got home, I got changed, and I was engaged in, small talk, internal family conversation. So within about 25 minutes, he showed up at my house with two other individuals, myself and one of the persons who worked for Aaron's Royalty, a field officer, um, Mr. Hodge. He was at me, and we were just kicking. So the gentlemen came. They identified themselves as one Sean Prasad, and the other person is the Connie Blair. So the guy who brought them, he said that these guys need to have a conversation with you, and as long as we come to an agreement, there's potential for us to have some business done. So I was like, okay. So the first question I asked, where are you guys from? So they said that one was the chief financial officer of the Guyana Oil Company, and the other person indicated that he is the director of the said oil company. So I entertained them in my home office where they indicated to me that they are in a bind, where they need an emergency shipment of HFO for a contract that they have with GPL. So he went into his phone. He showed me some specifications that I had already seen before, and he indicated to me that this is what they're looking for.
And
So I
that
then said, I
refers to
said,
the
listen,
quality of oil. This HFO talks about the quality of oil that they were requesting of you to ship.
yeah, the HFO is a fuel that is used for heavy machinery. It's a heavy kind of fuel. It is not like the D2 or the ultra low sulfur. It is a heavy kind of fuel. I think only persons who have these generators, these huge generators and stuff like that, would use that particular product. So, however, um, we started having the conversation. He asked me where I got the copy of the specifications from. So I said, man, I think one of the guys who's attached to my company, he had circulated it at one of the meetings that we had. However, he said, well, this is the product that we have, and we need an emergency load of this product. So I said, first of all, there are some things we need to get out of the way. I said, my company is recently started operating in Guyana because even though the company was registered in Guyana in 2019, I was not in Guyana throughout that time. So I indicated to him that we are now in the process of getting certain kinds of documentation intact. Documentation specifically talking about the import license, and we were basically talking about getting the documentation. I explained to them that I sent a letter, I got back a letter of acknowledgement, and I'm patiently waiting to get these documentation intact so that I can actually have the import license. So the guy indicated to me, that's Mr. Prasad. He said, "Do you know that the Guyana Oil Company is a state-owned entity?" I said, "Of course." And he said, "Well, we have a license, and we would be able to bring that fuel in as long as you can get the fuel as close as the international waters for us." So I said, I don't have a problem with that. I said, but there's some protocols that we would need to follow because of the fact that in order for you to get fuel from a refinery, um, you must have something called a standby letter of credit, a documentary letter of credit, or some form of banking instrument which gives the refinery assurance or confidence that, okay, when this ship gets to your country, I will be paid my money. So that's the first thing I asked for. I said, usually in a transaction like this, these are the things you need. He then said that at this time they would not be able to post a standby letter of credit. They would not be able to post any form of banking instrument. So at that time, for me, thinking, in my own thoughts, I'm saying this does not sound correct because
So
if
that was
you're
a red
from
flag.
such a reputable company, yeah, it was a red flag for me. If you're from such a reputable company, then getting these instruments should be easy. I mean, even if you cannot get these instruments personally, or even if your company is not in a position to get a standby letter of credit, of course, if you have a clientele relationship with other companies, I'm sure that somebody would want to vouch for you. Because in actuality, the guarantee that we used for the transaction to get that HFO fuel was not a guarantee from Iran's Royalty Inc. Because we're talking about more than $3 million, 3 million US dollars. So your company would have to be booming for a number of years for you to be able to put up a documentary letter of credit or build a relationship with a bank, so to speak, so that they can be able to vouch for you. So in its entirety, I had to seek assistance from companies or a company that I've dealt with before or from a person who knows me to get that standby letter of credit or that documentary letter of credit to post as a guarantee that the refinery will be paid when the fuel gets to the location. So
That's
basically
interesting.
how it goes, basically how it goes, Now, remember, as I said before, my company does not have an import license in Guyana. So my company operates as the intermediary between the seller and the purchaser. We are paid, we are paid for connecting the dots. It means that I connect to the person who has the product or the persons who have the product, the companies who have the product. I connect them based on whichever customer would reach out to me. I indicate to the customer that these are the protocols that we would need. And from there, the documentation at the company who's supplying the product would prepare a document between myself and them. And then I would prepare a contract between myself and the person who's purchasing. You see, but in this situation, it's a bit different because they were saying that until the vessel gets outside of Guyana waters, they would not be able to produce a purchase order or any form of documentation for the transaction, which I
Mr.
found
Aaron,
funny.
Mr. Aaron, and in that process, what would have convinced you to maybe to deter or to go against what might have been standard operating procedures? What may have been said to you by officials at Guy Oil that would have said to you, I'm going to go and get this line of credit or at least the documentation from some places as against depending on Guy Oil for it?
Okay, well, basically, I have relocated to Guyana, right, for personal reasons. However, um, after they indicated to me that they were able to bring this product in, this being the first business venture for Iran's Royalty in Guyana, seeing that I'm back home, it was a good experience. It was supposed to be an experience, a good experience. And then also, I received an indication that I would be able to get my documentation fast tracked as a result of facilitating them. And because of the fact that the conversation was not in a position where I felt confident at that point, I started to record the conversation. So here it is. Yes, I recorded the conversation. So it is not a case where like persons are trying to make it sound that these allegations are ones that are made up. I did record the conversation. All of the persons who were in my home office on that day, their voices are on the recordings that I have compiled and recorded. Now, when I was told that this would be an ongoing contract and this would be like a trial run for my company, sir, as a business person, you of course would want to prove that you're worthy to get a contract from a company that is supposed to be reputable in your country. In actuality, that's the biggest fuel supply company in Guyana. So to know that you would move from trying to get a vessel to come to Region 1 where you do not need a license to sell fuel there, you just pay the taxes based on some kind of waiver that transpired with some administration, I'm not sure. But that's the information I got when I got home that it was okay to sell fuel in Region 1 as long as you pay the $5,000 per barrel to GRA. But that stipulation is only for Region 1. So for me, who was just thinking about focusing on Port Kaituma, Mabaruma, Morwana, those are areas in the Region 1 district that have a lot of persons doing mining. And of course, you would be able to do some numbers doing transactions in that area, knowing that it's less hassle, especially when you don't have the documentation at hand. So they're coming to me, giving me this option that okay, they can fast track my documentation, and basically they can move what I have in mind. They can take that and move it from 0 to 100 in a fast manner of time. I went for the deal because I knew that I was capable of getting the fuel here.
Mhm.
So I started to record the conversation. They indicated that they reached out to quite a few companies, but the company did not fit the criteria after they did their due diligence and all of these things that they were ready to play ball. So I'm like, okay. So deeper into the conversation is where we talk about pricing. So they asked me what was the price. So basically, how this is done, there's something called the plat. Now, the plat price basically is the price that you are going to be able to access the fuel at.
Mhm.
Now, when you get, whether it's a line of credit or you purchase for purchase using cash, the plat price basically is the market price, the cost price of the fuel. Then you would have to add the transportation costs along with your markup of your profit that you're going to make. So after that was established, I indicated that okay, I can give you this fuel for $42 per barrel. So at that time, I was told to elevate the price from $42 per barrel to $57 plus five.
Mhm. And we're going to talk a little bit about that as we proceed. But I want to get a sense of the general the general um, arrangement as it were. So you were contacted by these officials from GUYOIL to bring this fuel. There's an emergency happening. They say you've
Uh,
been able to convince them that your company can bring this fuel, right? You have talked about a price. And then it seems as though this is the deal of a lifetime, and then all goes haywire. What prevented this from coming to fruition? What was that event or that thing that exploded the whole deal?
well, what happened basically? We had an arrangement in which they're holders of two lots, and I was supposed to be the person who's going to be supplying them for those two lots. So it means that I will be supplying them with 31,000 plus or minus 2,000 barrels when it is their time to distribute their product to the GPL. What caused the problem is that, well, this is my opinion. This aspect of it is my opinion because everything was going smoothly. They were calling me 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning. Of course, this information you can confirm it with the telephone companies in this country.
And
I was
and
in for
and
like two
and
months.
they is the director, Mr. Blair at Guy Oil, the chief financial officer, company secretary, Mr. Prasad.
Yes, if you check the telephone records, all of the things I'm saying can be verified. Mind you, I must say openly, I'm willing and ready at any time to do a lie detector test in front of any audience. Now, the upsetting thing about it is that when I found out that the ship was in close proximity of getting to Guyana, I indicated such to these individuals. Now, you have product that is a day and a half to 2 days away from your country, and you're looking to use a contingency that still has to accumulate this product, load a vessel, get the document set up, ship off that vessel. So what kind of contingency is that? And then the other thing that is strange, you're getting a product at $42 a barrel, but then you're still willing to buy a product that is offered to you as a contingency that is almost two times the almost 50% more than the price that you're actually getting it from for in a day and a half. So for me, I realize that that is bad business. Why would you purchase something expensive and then you're getting the same product, the same specification, the same quality for a price that's cheaper? I don't understand. I mean, it doesn't make much business. It doesn't make much business sense to me to buy something at a higher price and for you to sell it back based on the cost price you're paying. It means that you'll be running at a loss. Nobody does business to lose.
And so how did this all go downhill from this point?
Well,
They're
based on my
calling you.
understanding,
Yeah. Go
based
right
on
ahead,
my
Mr. Aaron.
understanding of come again.
Go right ahead, Mr. Aaron.
Oh yeah, based on my understanding of what happened, is that the contingency that they had in mind, the drawback was bigger. The drawback was bigger based on my understanding of what was said. Because for me, you already came and you engaged requesting this product. It's an emergency. You're all excited about getting it. You made me leave my house the day after Good Friday to go to a boardroom to have a meeting where you would present the specifications, have me call my people in the United States of America to confirm that we can get this product from either Houston or Panama or whichever one of the refineries is closer because it's an emergency. And then within the space of a couple of days, after waking me up at 3 and 4 o'clock in the morning to have conversations about confirmation, about the vessel leaving and all of these things, you're gonna just start to pull yourself back. I would find that strange. I think anybody would find that strange.
And how did they start pulling themselves back from the arrangement?
Well,
They
I
stopped taking
realized
your
that,
calls. They stopped meeting with you.
so what happened, I realized that when they said that, when I explained to them that the vessel was en route, everything was good until that on to that point. And I left Georgetown and I went to Port Kaituma because, as I explained to you, Port Kaituma has a better option. I went to Region 1. Excuse me, I think I spent like about 6 or 7 days in Region 1. So I went to Region 1 to do some recon. I met a few persons who were interested in the purchasing of fuel. These are persons who are either buying fuel for dredging or dredging and mining, or they're buying fuel to resell to customers that they have already been selling products to before. So even while I was in Port Kaituma, I stumbled across a storage facility in Port Kaituma that is owned or was supposed to be owned by GUYOIL. And in my inquiry, somebody indicated to me that this facility is owned by GUYOIL. So I reached out to one of the officials and I said, man, I observed you have a tank here, y'all have a tank here and it's not being used. It's just, there. What is the situation with it? Would it be possible for me to put some product in there? And, that person said, well, yes, you'll be able to do that, but I have to consult with someone else because of the fact that based on the knowledge he had at that time, somebody else was supposed to be taking possession of that place.
Yeah, and so the deal fell through. You started getting mixed signals from them, and what you said might have been a higher price being paid in terms of kickback by another company. But I want to establish where we are thus far. You've thus said to us that there were officials from GUYOIL who approached you. You did admit that you don't have an import license, but that they said, being a major oil company, GUYOIL, they would handle bringing the fuel that you were shipping into the country, that they had a license and they were going to undertake that aspect of it. Quite recently, we saw this being
Yeah,
confirmed.
that was the arrangement.
Yeah. Quite recently, we saw this being confirmed, for instance, in the newspaper by the head of GEA, the energy agency, who said that based on their checks, you don't have a license to import fuel. But he said, in addition to that, you have never applied for a license either. Is that factual?
Well, I think that was a mix up in the sense of the choice of words. I was made to understand that when you send an application, when you send a document requesting a license at GA to import fuel, it is considered an application when you fill an application form with the requirements and send that in. But like I said, it was something new that I was venturing into to get the license. So I sent an official letter stating this is my name, this is my company, this is where it's located, this is what I'm trying to achieve. Because of the fact that I took application forms not just for importation, but for gas station, for so many other things. Because I have persons who I know personally that own companies. One company in particular that is an Australian company. They wanted to bring a franchise of their fund tank storage and the service station to Guyana, which is a state-of-the-art gas station with all modern equipment. Like For example, in the United States of America and developed countries, you can go into a service station and purchase fuel just off of your card,
Mhm.
your bank card, your debit card.
So, so
That was
Mr. Aaron, you have done arrangements or business with GA before, but in this instance, for Aaron's Royalty Inc., you don't have an import license, but you applied for one. Did GEA respond?
yes. I got a letter. I would say a letter of acknowledgement, and it instructed me that I need to get some documentation. I mean, I can't remember off the top of my head what all those documents are, but one of the things that is a criteria to get be an applicant to have the import license, you must have access and a contract for a storage facility. So, I reached out to an individual who has been a member of my family circle, who has been in the oil and gas industry for many, many years. And that individual is an individual who I would say know me most of my life. But as a result of him being engaged with another person who is applying for the same license, he was not able to give me the documents as in immediately because of the fact that he is already committed to someone else. So he asked me to just hold for a few and he'll get that aspect of it sorted out. But I
Mhm.
have a letter that I received from GA, actually two letters, because before Aaron's Royalty Inc. became a company in Guyana, I was the country director for another oil and gas company. That was PH World Trading. So as the country director, it was my responsibility to send a letter requesting a fuel license on behalf of that company. But like I said, that is a company that I used to work for before I decided to open my own company, before I decided to
Great.
start Aaron's
So,
Royalty Inc.
so then you've had several engagements with the GEA. Moving on from there, the CEO of GUYOIL, Mr. Trevor Basu, has since resigned as CEO. He has stated that his resignation is not because of this fuel scandal, this oil scandal with GUYOIL, but in what he said is in the light of the recent work environment at Guy Oil. That was his saying, in the light of the recent work environment at Guy Oil. What was your engagement with Mr. Basu during this process?
Well, in actuality, I never had an engagement with Mr. Basu until the persons who visit my residence start to backpedal from the transaction. Mr. Basu and I never had a conversation until I requested his number from my marketing director in the United States of America. I did not have a number for Mr. Basu. Mr. Basu did not even know who I was.
Mhm.
I was
As far as you know.
informed. I was informed when I met Mr. Basu in person for the first time at OMG on Sherry Street. That is when I reached out to him and I made a request to see him.
Mhm.
Mr. Basu came, he met me, I sat with him. I explained to him what my concerns were. I explained to him who are these individuals who visited my home, making these requests, and they have been good up to the point where the vessel was en route heading to Guyana. And then all of a sudden, they start to backpedal and they start to act shady. So he asked me, he said, Mr. Aaron, is there any truth in what you're seeing to me? So I said, Mr. Basu, I'm a grown man. Why would I make up a story like this? So I then got to my cell phone and I showed him some stuff which he found very interesting. So I asked him, I said, tell me, how is it that you can assist the situation? And he said, listen, at this time, there's not much that I can do as a result of the fact that I was not the person who engaged your company. I have knowledge of your company. I've heard that there were persons who were instructed or operated off of their own to engage your company. I've heard about your company, but
So according to you, he
I've
did
never
have
met
knowledge.
you.
Mhm. So according to you, Mr. Aaron, he did
He
have some
knew of the
knowledge of what was
company.
happening. Mhm.
Well, he had knowledge after, because when I met with him, he did not know who I was or what I was talking about. I was surprised that when I indicated to him that this is what is happening, his reaction to what I said, it tells me that he was not aware of what was going on. So as a result of that, I decided to show proof, because one of the things that I remember vividly is that he said, "How did you get a copy of this?" Because
This
I am
this
in
one.
possession. I am in possession of the contract that was signed between GUYOIL and GPL. Now, a person who is an outsider from a government entity, how would I be able to get something like that? That contract was sent to me by Mr. Sean Prasad as a form of showing me strength, the financial strength of them being able to pay for the fuel that they have requested. That's how I ended up with that contract.
Okay. For those of you who are now joining us, we're talking with Mr. Jayson Aaron, and he's the president of Aaron's Royalty Inc. This is the company, the man in the company at the center of the GUYOIL fuel scandal. Again, if you're now joining us, we invite you to share the live stream. Mr. Aaron, you had said in a statement that we have seen and I want to quote from it, they asked me the price, in which I told them it was $42 per barrel. Then Sean Prasad said to me, put the price at $57 plus $5 on every barrel. Akani Blair then explained how the extra money will be dispatched. He said that when you guys pay me the extra, sorry, when you guys pay me, the extras must be paid to them in cash. And they had 5 people who will be a part of the division of the extra money. Himself, Sean Prasad, the guy who brought them, Christopher Spencer, the chairman, and one Leonard Kahn, whom I had no knowledge of the time. This is part of the statement. So talk to us about what you perceived as them wanting kickbacks, because you did say to us that you felt that they went in another direction because perhaps the kickbacks were greater with the other company. Talk to us about this.
Well, one of the things that I want the public to understand, in the fuel industry, there's something called a broker's fee and a finder's fee. I did not have a problem with that, because basically, if you, Mr. Duncan, is to bring a customer to me who's interested in purchasing some fuel, and that person have all of their documentation intact, as in their letter of credit, their this import license, it means that you who brought the customer, you who brought the business, is entitled to a fee. So for me, it was not something that was major. I did not take it as anything that was major, because of the fact that in fuel business there is something called a broker's fee. So that was quite normal. Any
So
person who
you would
brings a
expect
client,
you would expect a director at a state company like GUYOIL to have a broker's fee, the chairman to have a broker's
that is the thing.
fee.
The thing is, why it was not something that was major, because of the fact that yes, brokers fees are paid, but then this is a state-owned entity, and for me, my arrangement with the transaction or the conversation we were having, all I'm focused on, it was being paid the price that I have submitted for the few for the product, and whatever it is that they are getting off of the transaction. Personally, I do not look into that aspect of it. They brought the business. If this is how they wanted the business to be done, they would have to know if they are comfortable with receiving money from their own company. If somebody does that in my company and I find out about it, I would deal with them personally, because of the fact that you're already employed by my company. You are paid based on the work you're doing for my company. But if somebody brings a transaction from their company and they choose to solicit any kind of funds off of the transaction from their company, they're not robbing me. They're robbing their own company. So for me, I didn't see an issue with it, because of the fact that they brought the business transaction, they brought the manner in which they wanted the transaction to be done. as a result of me doing fuel transaction or having conversations about fuel before, where persons discuss what my broker's fees are or what my finder's fees, you know. So it is something that is quite normal. It is something normal in the fuel
And and
industry.
and who was the person or persons who brought up this idea about how the money was supposed to be supplied in terms of the
No, well,
pricing?
that was the pricing of the fuel, as in the elevated pricing of the fuel. That was brought up by Mr. Prasad, Mr. Sean Prasad. The division of how the funds are supposed to go, that was brought by Akani Blair. Because if my memory serves me correctly, the conversation that we were having was the beginning of setting this transaction up. But then they left my home based on what they said before they left there. They were going to engage the chairman. And then after they do that, they would return with the confirmation that we're going to go ahead and pull the trigger to get the transaction done.
Did they give you the impression that they met with the chairman?
Well, the guy who brought them, he left with them to go meet the chairman. I cannot give accountability. I cannot give accountability for where they were, where they met the chairman, what they spoke about. What I can give account for is that when they got back from meeting whoever the chairman is or whoever the chairman was, I didn't know the guy at the time. I still don't even know the person. But he came back and he said, Mr. Blair said, because Mr. Prasad did not return when they came back. The two persons who came back is the guy who brought them and Akani Blair.
Well,
So
I don't
the
know who
first
they
thing,
met with, but the chairman of GUYOIL is one, according to the official gazette, is one Mr. Paul Chung. He is the chairman of GUYOIL. He was recently appointed also as the chairman of NASIL, the National Industrial and Commercial Investments Limited, and he was recently elected as the chairman of the Private Sector Commission. So that's the chairman of GUYOIL, Mr. Paul Chung.
okay, well, I don't know the individual personally. I've never engaged myself in a conversation with him. So I basically do not know who this person is. But the word the chairman came up quite a few times in the conversation. And then Mr. Blair, when he got back with Mr. Spencer, who was the person that he left with. He said, well, we got the chairman's blessing. That's what he said. Now, at that time, when we got back into the home office, we were sitting and then the discussion came up again because he was going back and forth about $2 or $3, how this division is going to happen.
And
So
this is US, $2 or $3 US. And just to give the public a sense
yes,
of just
everything in
to
the
give the
fuel
public
industry
a
is
sense of
calculated.
Mr. Aaron, just to give the public a sense of what we're talking about, you were being
Mm,
contracted for all intents and purposes to bring 65,000 barrels of fuel
65,000 barrels is 65,000 barrels in total.
in total. Good.
One shipment, one shipment is supposed to be 31,000 plus or minus 2,000 barrels,
Okay,
right?
go ahead.
And based on the information I was given, is that we were supposed to supply two lots out of three because a third party had one lot in the process of tendering for the transaction, tendering for the contract actually.
Mr. Aaron, you have positioned yourself as a businessman who is able to pull off this very lucrative deal. You put it at a price tag of $3 million US dollars. The first part, as you mentioned, 31,000 barrels of fuel, give and take 2,000 barrels, was supposed to come on the 17th, I think, of April. And as it were, the second portion, the second part of that was due today, the 27th, I think it was. What has happened since then? Because I mean, your credibility is on the line. You said to this company you were able to bring this fuel. Was the fuel ever sourced? Was it ever brought? What has happened since then with the fuel?
Well, based on my understanding, remember my role was to bring this fuel to the international water of Guyana, outside of Guyana, to be correct. That's where my role stopped. When that fuel got there, I'm supposed to start receiving payments for the person who sent the fuel this in this direction. Now, they were supposed to pilot that ship in from the international water and take it to wherever they're supposed to discharge this fuel. They were supposed to contract a broker, and the broker was supposed to do the necessary documentation. I cannot tell you what those documents are because, like I said, I've never done importation in Guyana. I don't know what the documents are. I don't know what the documents look like. But what I'm telling you is just based on what I've learned in conversation. So
Mhm.
my
So
role was to get
Guyon
it.
officials gave the undertaking or the representation that they were going to handle whatever paperwork needed for the licensing aspect, the importation, the bringing the oil out of international waters
Of
into
course,
our
of course,
shores. But was the vessel ever
of course,
did the vessel ever
because
came?
well, the vessel came, and based on, like I said, based on the information I received from the person I was in contact with, the vessel came and it was out in the international waters. And as a result of the vessel loitering, the vessel was then approached by the Coast Guard, and I subsequently got a message from the guy stating that the customs had engaged them, customs and the Coast Guard. At that time, I tried to make contact to find out what is happening, but um, I guess it was too late because the very next day, I found out that the vessel was piloted into Guyana and has been docked at the sugar mill since.
Interesting, very interesting. And what has happened since then? We have learned that there was an investigation that was launched. Dr. Ashley Singh has asked the Auditor General to investigate this matter. An investigation might have even been launched by the Guyana Energy Agency. Have you spoken with the police? Have they visited your home? You have visited them?
Well, I had I had a conversation with um, an investigator who is attached to the GEA office, um, and he asked a few questions. I gave him my understanding as to what transpired based on the arrangement and the agreement that I had verbally, and he just needed to know that I knew what was happening. So we had a conversation. Um, he indicated to me certain things, certain protocols that were supposed to be followed, and based on the assumption or based on the conclusion I can draw from that conversation, it helped me to understand why certain things happen.
Okay.
I was engaged also by the GRA enforcement, law enforcement unit.
Mhm.
Um, those guys were very professional, I may add. They
And
came to
then
me.
and engage
They
how?
had
Okay,
a
yeah. Go right ahead.
pardon.
No, I was going to ask you engage how, but you started to explain.
Yeah. They paid me a visit in which I said that they were very professional. They explained to me exactly why they would like to have a conversation with me, why they're inviting me. They invited me to their office, why they have invited me to their office. So, of course, I went there because remember, I have no need to be afraid of anything. Until now, I have not broken any laws that I know about. So I visited the office. I had a brief conversation with three investigators um, who are very professional at what they were doing. and they explained to me why I was called in and the nature behind everything that's happening. And they asked me to submit something in writing, and I agreed.
Great. As I said early on, Dr. Ashley Singh said, and at least we picked this up via the newspapers, that the Auditor General was called in to investigate this matter. As a matter of fact, in Starbuck News editorial just yesterday, themed the GUYOIL turmoil, the newspaper seemed surprised that the Auditor General would be called in. I want to quote part of that editorial for our viewers and for you, Mr. Aaron, if you haven't had a chance to read it. It stated, in part, that move is quite unusual when the normal course of action would have been to refer any alleged corrupt behavior to the police for investigation and the possible laying of charges. The Office of the Attorney General has no locus standi as it relates to questioning, for example, the person who is alleging that he was in the midst of a sale of a cargo of oil to GUYOIL. They say that this would have required the so-called confrontations organized as part of the police investigations. Furthermore, according to the editorial of the Starbuck News, there was no transaction for the Office of the Audit General to audit, as what was allegedly transpiring was off the books and not in keeping with procurement procedures. In this case, the origins of text messages and calls will have to be investigated, a task out of the ambits of the Auditor General's office. The Auditor General's office could end up presenting an undue delay in the determination of this matter, and the assignment should be withdrawn from the Auditor General's office and transferred immediately to the police and one of their specialized unit. One hopes, the editorial ends by saying, one hopes that their investigative skills in this area would have been blustered. Have you been in contact with anybody out of the Auditor General's office?
No, I haven't spoken to anybody from the Auditor General's office. I was engaged by the police, though, when I was leaving the Guyana Revenue Authority office. I was engaged by a few ranks from the Major Crimes Department, the Department of Fraud, who I wouldn't want to say invite. They arrested me and they took me to Iberia. However, when I got there, well, of course, the usual procedure. They would pass you through the records. I met with an officer who also was very professional, who indicated to me why I'm there. And I said to him, okay, well, now that you're explaining to me why I was brought here, I can defend whatever it is that you're saying that is not so. I can defend that. However, of course, you know that he is working with instructions. Now, the issue that I have with the police aspect of investigation, one of the things that I can remember clearly is that I was having a conversation, or I had a conversation with one Mr. Bandu, who is the procurement, the chairman of procurement for the GUYOIL board, because he had reached out to me via phone call, identified himself to me, and basically he just wanted some clarity on what was happening. More so, was trying to salvage the situation. So he indicated to me in one message, I think you should go to the media. Do not go to the police. They can buy the police. So ironically, I was arrested by the police.
Who is this? This is a director at GUYOIL, allegedly. I think the name of the director might be Dr. Vishnu Bandu, who is telling you who is they that can buy the police.
Well, I'm just giving you reference based on what I have.
Okay.
He said, do it. I don't remember word for word, but the nature of what he was saying is that the better option is to bring it to the public and not go to the police, because they can buy the police. That's the statement. That's the is there. It's written. That's how it is written. So
And have you,
for me,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Mr. Aaron. Now, I was going to ask you whether you would have been in contact with other officials at Guy Oil during this period of the investigations and so forth.
Well, basically, the other official who contacted me, he basically was trying to get the truth of the story. Because based on everything that has happened, Mr. Prasad is of the impression, or I think he's of the impression, that he is dealing with people who are uneducated and they're fools. Because how can you do something, the evidence is clear, and then on top of that, you're trying to make it seem as if someone is trying to tarnish your reputation and your name. When you did that yourself, when you engaged a private company on a public holiday to do government duties. Where in the world does that happen? Where in the world is that done?
Very interesting. Very interesting. Mr. Aaron, where do you go from here? You have not been in contact with the general's office. They have not contacted you. You've been talking with the police, talking with folks out of the revenue authority. You said you had a little contact with somebody out of the energy agency. Where do you and your company go from here? Because you do have, from what you've said, a whole tanker of oil sitting somewhere in the Demerara River.
Well, personally, I have been seeking legal advice as to how to move forward with this. This is fairly something new to me in terms of being in a situation where product actually arrived to the location that we have agreed on, and persons refusing to fulfill their obligation. So at this stage of the matter, basically I am seeking legal advice on how to deal with all of the entities and also the police in question. One of the things that I can go on record and say is that I have no intentions of running away from any matter, especially this particular matter. You see, my understanding of the things that happen in Guyana, it saddens me. The reason why is because a lot of persons, a lot of citizens of Guyana have been treated unfairly, and things have been done to them. A lot of people went through a lot of suffering, but because of the fact that they're afraid that if they speak out, somebody's going to harm them, and all of these things, they stay quiet and they take it. Unfortunately, in this situation, I am not afraid to say what I need to say. I am not afraid to say what I need to say in front of any person, at any time, any audience, anywhere. Because of the fact that I did not go to GUYOIL. They came in the comfort of my home. And it is upsetting as a result of these idiots coming into my home. The police came to my house yesterday to search for devices. And I'm majorly upset about it. The thing about it is that
What
in
devices?
2017, I don't know what devices they're looking for. They keep making requests for my phone that has the information. All right? My thing is, their approach to the situation, I found it very funny. Because it is clear to me that there are a lot of persons in Guyana who do not read a lot. There's a difference between an allegation and a conviction. And I think that even members of a certain organization do not understand the meaning or do not understand the difference between an allegation and a conviction. So the information that was released prior to me releasing back anything or giving me okay for stuff to be released, it was done by members of GUYOIL. And one of the things that I found hilarious is that they brought a matter. They brought a matter from 2017 or 2018, which allegations were made against me. Of course, you know, a story has more than one side, but then people love gossip. As long as it's juicy, people are just gonna pick it up and run with it. And there are few journalists in this country, or few people in this country I actually consider to be journalists. The reason I can say that is because you find that some people do not take the time out to investigate exactly what transpired. And that's one of the reasons why I would take my hat off to Travis Chase. I would take my hat off to you. I would take my hat off to Gordon Mosley. They have certain journalists, you have no other choice but to give them that respect that they deserve. The reason for that is because they do investigative journalism. Some persons just walk around with a camera, a book, and a pen, and they hear a part of a story and they run with it. I found it hilarious. And then
Mr.
I
Aaron,
saw persons, yes, sir.
yeah, as we wrap up, I just wanted to ask you, in addition to what you were saying there, whether there was any other thing that was
Hmm.
critical for you to get out there as part of what you know in this ongoing saga of this oil scandal at Guy Oil.
Well, at this point, I am leaving my creator as the person in charge of this, of everything that is happening. Because one of the things that I believe strongly is that at the end of the day, the truth will come out. A person can do what they want, but not for as long as they want to. And me being a man who is Muslim, I believe that my creator is going to guide me through this because he knows I didn't go out looking for guys. They came all the way to my home looking to do a transaction. And it is preposterous for them to be operating in this manner, knowing that they are the persons who engaged me. I know that I am up against a whole lot of people who probably have a whole lot of back ends and a whole lot of money and all of these things. But one of the things that I'm sure about is that I'm not going to let this go. I am not going to be one of those persons who advantage has been taken on, and I'm not going to sit back and take it. I do not care how many times they instruct their police friends to ransack my place, to arrest me. I don't care about those things. What I am after is justice and the truth. Because I realize that in this country, a lot of people are strangers to the truth.
Thank you very
And if
much, Mr. Aaron.
somebody
Right ahead.
And if somebody does not take a stand and stand up for themselves in this country against all of the wrongdoings and all of the things that transpire on a daily basis, then where are we heading? Where
Yeah,
are we heading?
yeah.
I was violated in 2017. You know what? I took that and I walked away. I didn't go after anybody. But here in 2021, here again, it's the same thing. But this time around, I'm not allowing that to happen. I am not allowing that to happen. I am
Thank you.
prepared
Yeah,
to battle if I have to battle for my
thank
rights
you.
because I did not go to them. They came to me. I did not go asking, oh, could you please give me a transaction?
Thank you very much, Mr. Aaron, for spending this time with us and giving us your version of events as they unfolded and led us to this point. As we said when we started, the nation has been gripped by this ongoing saga at Guy Oil. Mr. Aaron, thanks very much for stepping in the ring this evening.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me, Mr. Duncan.
Folks, and there you have it. We've been talking there with Mr. Jayson Aaron. He's the president of the Aaron's Royalty Inc., and it is the company, the man and company at the center of the swirling, ongoing Guy oil deal saga. And as you know, and as we want you to know, we are going to continue to monitor this and to bring you the details. It's a state enterprise, and of course, we want all of these enterprises to succeed. And so your taxpayers' dollar and mine go into these operations, and we want to make sure that they're being managed well. According to the official gazette, Mr. Paul Chung is the chairman of Guy Oil. He's also the chairman, I see here, of NISIL, the National Industrial and Commercial Investment Limited. And quite recently, he was elected as the chairman of the Private Sector Commission as well. Other board members of Guy Oil include Mr. Shamir Hussain, Ms. Abina Moore, Dr. Vishnu Bandhu, Mr. Akani Blair, and also Drew Bahadur. They are all board members that help to steer policy there at Guy Oil. Folks, as I close, I think it is fitting that I close with the end of the Starbuck News editorial on this very subject matter, Guy Oil turmoil, in which they said, and I quote, whether the PPPC government is serious about battling corruption and the acts which appear to engender it will be seen in the type of examination mounted at Guy Oil. The government has already failed the test as it relates to examining the award of 2 trawler licenses under the Ministry of Agriculture. Folks, I want to thank you for joining me this evening, for having the courage to step in the ring where we promote the truth and defend the facts. And as we go, continue to mask up, social distance, and also to sanitize. And folks, you know by heart by now, the regulation says you're not supposed to be in groups larger than 10, and if so, social distance. Thank you for joining us, and do stay safe. We're going to see you tomorrow evening, folks. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe.